My name is Ray.
Hi, this is Michael.
Welcome to our episode of Ray's Economics Clue Book. Today, we talk about the money market model and the loanable funds market and how they cause and affect each other.
Okay.
And so in the short run, let's look at the money market, the liquidity preference model interest rate, and the loanable funds market. And so basically, the liquidity preference model is kind of cause and effect for a loanable funds model. They're very closely intertwined.
Yeah.
So let's say in the Fed, in the short run, the money supply is increased by the Fed through an open market operation or reduced reserve ratio or etc. Other various methods.
Or maybe just directly reduce the federal funds rate.
And so as the interest rate decreases, we basically see an increased demand for money. Money demand increases basically in the economy, meaning that there's more money now in circulation, which increases which when we go to a loanable funds model in the short run, increases GDP from the increase in investment spending, which increases consumer spending, and which also leads to an increase in savings because disposable income equals consumer spending plus savings. And so your savings supply increases by a correlated amount because what happens is the interest rate in the loanable funds market decreases in a correlated amount from the decrease in interest rate from the liquidity preference model. So a decrease in interest rate in the liquidity preference model leads to a correlated decrease in interest rate in the loanable funds market.
So it's actually, theoretically speaking, they should exactly match from R1 reduced to R2.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the equilibrium point from E1 to E2.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the Fed strongly influences interest rates.
Simply by Fed's short-term action, right? Okay. Yeah.
In the long run, we talked about previously the Fisher effect. The Fisher effect basically states that in the long run, inflation has no effect on the real interest rate because inflation is often embedded within loan contracts or estimated or seen ahead of by loaners and by creditors and debtors. And so basically, the real interest rate does not change in the face of inflation, and this is another application of that basically. So we've seen in the long run as the price level increases due to because in the long run wages are not sticky. Wages are not sticky. So wages increase with a rise in GDP. So in the long run, this causes a price level increase. As the price level increases from inflation, basically what happens is the demand for money increases because people need more money now to purchase the same items. And so as the money demand increases, the interest rate returns back to its original level, which leads to a correlated return to the original interest rate level R1 in the loanable funds market, which sees our savings supply decrease.
Okay, so it's actually pretty straightforward because the very important difference between short run and a long run is wage is not inflexible anymore. Okay, so wage becomes flexible in the long run, and then leads to the price level increase, and which means the MD curve actually shifted to the right. Okay, and which really means actually it can't affect that Federal Reserve's movement.
And so we see here basically the real interest rate, which in this case we'll consider at R1. Basically, it remains the same in the long run. In the short run, it has changes, but in the long run, it does not.
Because nominal interest rate actually first by Federal Reserve's action reduced to R2, but in the long run, because the price level increase, and then it leads to go back to the nominal R1. Okay, so in this scenario, in the long run speaking, not only efficiency effect is testified, which means the real interest rate remains the same.
Remains unchanged in the face of inflation.
And also the real GDP actually still does not really change simply by Federal Reserve's action. Okay.
Because the interest rate remains the same, so level of investment in the long run remains equal.
So the real GDP does not really change.
Change in the face of inflation. Inflation is not a factor.
In the long run, we mentioned before, what's going to really change the real GDP?
Real GDP has to change from outside factors beyond price level. For instance,
exactly. For example,
the long-run supply has to increase. For instance, technological increases, sustained productivity increases. These are outside factors that are beyond price. And just like we looked at a regular supply and demand model, price does not actually change. Price does not shift our supply and demand curves, at least in the long run. Price is just a short run or short run factor.
So this is about the long run equilibrium changes.
And so for our final clue, real interest rate equilibrium is the same as money supply, and the same theoretically in the money market and the loanable funds market, because the changes in the short run are correlated with each other. In the long run, there are no changes due to money supply or price level changes. And so the Fed's policy we can talk about is effective in the short run, which is its only purpose, basically. But in the long run, real interest rate does not change. We talk about Fisher's effect, and in this episode we look at these two charts. We see the Fisher's effect is basically justified here.
Yeah. Again, so we for this presentation we basically connect the two important models, the money market model and the loanable funds model. Okay, so we can see actually no matter short run or long run, these two actual models, they actually provide pretty much the same conclusion.
Yes.
Okay, so I think that's pretty amazing, and the wonderful part about macroeconomics.
Yeah.
So today we basically just discuss these important features, particularly the short run and the long run difference, and then we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye bye.